And welcome to the live stream. And we just did all the introductions in the Discord channel. So here we go. Ian and I are matching sweater buddies tonight. We have Santa's original red teamer shirt on. So yeah, we're still a bit in the holiday spirit. So why not? So Ian, yeah, welcome.
Thank you.
Take it away.
All right, perfect. So we are going to do a fun workshop today based on cloud security. So we're going to see a lot of the common pitfalls that it's possible to make in cloud environments. Share my screen quickly, actually.
Wait. Somebody asked, where did my hair go? Well, it's actually on the floor in the bathroom where my wife cut it off.
You should hopefully see the slide that I've just presented. I promise this is the only slide we're having today. So don't worry, it's all going to be very hands-on. So yeah, there's this huge shift to cloud, as we're all aware, since seems so long ago in 2006 when AWS was formed. There's been a huge acceleration, especially in recent years, in the adoption of cloud services. And predominantly, the three main cloud providers, AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud, have captured over 60% of the market between them, with the largest, of course, being AWS, but Azure is making inroads into that steadily. And GCP seems to be maintaining its 9 to 10% share, but that may increase over time as well. So I will stop sharing that. And I just want really to introduce my screen just froze there. Apologies for that.
That is always the case, right?
Yeah. So I kind of just wanted to speak with Arjen about the format that we're looking to do tonight. So we've got 5 challenges for you. The first 2 challenges are going to be in AWS. The second 2 are in Azure. And the last challenge tonight is going to be in GCP. And what Arjen and I were thinking was that we would essentially introduce the first challenge, set the objective, and let you guys try to hack the challenge. We can provide some hints, of course, in the text channels. And then maybe after, say, 20, 25 minutes or so, we can actually show the solution to the challenge and open the floor to any questions you might have about it and kind of introduce some interesting points about the vector and how it could have been avoided as well, and some potential hardening advice there for the blue teamers. So the first challenge we're going to do is in AWS, as I said. Challenge 1. I'm going to post this now. I'm just going to stop my cam momentarily while I do stuff locally. I'm just going to paste into the text channel the challenge details.
Yeah, so to recap, Ian will post in Meetup text the challenge. We'll pin it so that you always get back to it. We'll take 20 minutes for you to explore the challenge, to take a look at it, form your ideas, maybe even get a flag if you're quick enough. And then we will have like 10 minutes of explanation. We'll walk through it, we'll explain it, we'll talk about the different sides of it, the offensive side, defensive side. And that will give us quite a nice interactive format. They should be doable. So let's see. The first one, AWS, I will pin it right away. Pin, there we go. Oh yeah, pin it. There's an IP address, and your objective is simply to enumerate S3 bucket and access flag.txt. We will see how it goes. Ian, while we wait, we'll set a marker at about 20 minutes, so 10 past 7. Ronnie says,
Sounds
I'm
good.
booting my VirtualBox. Yeah, that's the spirit. Um, yeah, I can also take this. I'm not. I will leave it in a meetup text. I'll not share the details here on the live stream as well. Somebody else might start looking at it as well.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, I already said this, but you created these challenges exclusively for our meetup tonight.
Absolutely.
Um, you were talking about leaving them open for a little while so that people can play with it, maybe share it with their colleagues to show them.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Maybe we can
yeah,
keep the challenges open for a few days just to make sure that, you know, if people need to drop off or if they don't have time to complete all the challenges, it's all doable in the time tonight. But if you don't have time, then we'll leave it up for a few days and you can play around at your leisure. You know, if you want to do a write up, a security report, then they'll be available for you.
yeah, very cool. On the condition that we do not abuse it. If they get abused, we will have to shut them down, sadly. So let's all play nice.
Yeah.
um, yeah. So well, wait, Ian. It's been quite a little while since you've been here joining us.
It has.
Um,
It has. Is it my
maybe
third time here? I think it's
yes,
my
it's
third
number
time.
three.
Yeah.
It's number
Yeah, yeah,
three.
yeah.
Your
Nice.
fan favorite at the moment.
Yes. I like being here. It's nice. It's a good group and it's always interesting. And you've had lots of really interesting talks as well before. Um, so just really wanted to quickly say the first challenge was just to give people familiarity with S3. So yeah, I guess that's a hint. Well,
Yeah. Well, it's
um,
already in the
it's
objective as well.
fine. It's already there. So yeah, really, the first one is just to get us going. Shouldn't be too challenging, but if you need, if you'd like any hints after 10 minutes or something, let
Yeah,
us know.
that's what I was thinking as well. Yeah, and while we wait, do you have any cool things to share or?
Well, it's been a really busy year actually in Hack the Box, working in the R&D team. Been working with lots of really super talented people and people from the community, such as Cube, Mr. Reboot, Felamos, of course, as you all know, well-known machine makers in Hack the Box, and yeah, it was really fun working on the Black Sky Labs for Enterprise, and so this is really a taste of Black Sky, which has been created exclusively for the Dutch Hack the Box meetup.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. And as one of our lucky participants will be able to get a ProLab, do you have any suggestion what ProLab they should choose? Do you have a?
Um, Interesting. I really like Rasta Labs, but also Offshore and Dante. So
Yeah, it cannot go wrong.
yeah,
That's
I'd probably say if it's your first Pro Lab and you're looking to level up, maybe start with Dante.
yeah.
Um, if you are already a pen tester, then maybe starting with Offshore or Rasta Labs. But honestly, um, if you really want the ultimate challenge, you could go for APT Labs. But that
Yeah,
is
that's
that probably
hardcore.
is the most difficult lab in the industry.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Let's
So
not. Yeah. Ronnie says Rasta or Dante. Yeah. So while we wait, Ian, maybe we should just go back into the voice channel that we can get some feeling for the discussion or any questions. We can just
yeah,
answer them there. I will take us all out of screen on the live stream, and then we can continue in the Discord, and we'll get back to here at 7:10.
yep, sounds great.
Yeah.
See you
All
then.
right. See you. Let's see if Ian is back. Yeah, there you go.
All
There you go.
right.
So
Let's do
Max 22, I guess that means he's 22. Yeah, but he was lightning fast in this challenge.
He was. Yeah, that was pretty impressive. It was like a minute in just and
yeah.
posted it. All right, let's let me share my screen. Excuse me.
Yeah, Blackheart says, when you guys are running through the challenge, can you also mention alternate tools or scripts that we can add to our tool belt, please? Of course.
Yes,
We'll talk through it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So this we put in the IP address, which resolved to inlanefreight.htb, and it seems to be what seems to be a logistics company. So this is the client we're starting the assessment on. Probably, one of the first things we can do is check out the website functionality, but also the source code, just to see, what technologies are in use and how the website has been created potentially. So one of the first things we see here is that stuff like images, CSS, fonts have been hosted on an S3 bucket. So let's go ahead and open this one up here. Zoom in. So that is, let's go back a directory. And again. Nice. So we go into the root of the S3 bucket. We can see there's a directory called client data export, which seems interesting. A file within there called credit card export.txt, a flag.txt. What else have we got?
And the rest was images. And
CSS. We've also got a flag.txt in the root. So let's see if we can access that. Hey, boom. And that is the first flag down. So very easy one to start with, but it's you could also have used the AWS CLI instead of your web browser, but using a web browser is very it's fine for that sort of thing. So I will go ahead and post the second challenge now in the channel, and good luck, everyone.
Yeah, and while we're on the subject, of course, there's a bunch of tools or scripts that you can use to actually enumerate. The most powerful one is just the AWS CLI, which is a Python module, I believe, and you need to pip install it. It is quite straightforward once you are in it. But what you noticed in this challenge, in the source, resources were loaded from the AWS S3 bucket, and that happens a lot. And people put stuff in a bucket and then have it on public readability so that anybody can read the contents of the bucket. And then you'll just run into very interesting things. From dumps from databases to credential files, stuff like that. Yeah. So did you want to add anything to that, Ian? What would this company, what should this company have done to not have this issue?
Well, so there are many, this was probably just an exercise in general, S3 enumeration, probably the easiest challenge you could get in the cloud. This wasn't so much a vulnerability in itself. It's very common to stand up websites, of course, in AWS in the cloud, and within AWS there are many ways of actually standing up a website. One very common way, which kind of links to challenge 2, is potentially using an EC2. And so, yeah.
Yeah.
In this instance, we did see, however, that the company was also hosting, it's fine to have a public S3 bucket for your website data. This is absolutely fine,
Yeah,
and that's
yeah,
not a
absolutely.
vulnerability, right? But then if you have other data, sensitive data, for example, client data, other PII, stored on the same bucket, even if it's not accessible, it's just a really bad practice. You need to have the separation of sensitive and non-sensitive data.
Yeah, there's let's see what Renee puts in the chat, where we can not do spoilers. There we go. There. Yeah, that's it's interesting when people explore. You get all these interesting things to look at, and AWS is quite tricky. When I explore with my students, we talk about how websites used to be created versus what you need now to create a website. And I like to pull up those blueprints for AWS that show how to do a automotive blueprint for something, or a digital marketing blueprint, and you see all these components, and then it just it's
all these
become,
microservices and
yeah.
I mean, that's the thing that we're going to
science.
see tonight as well in some of the other challenges we do. Leaving default settings. There's lots of companies that think that they can just essentially lift and shift their existing infrastructure to the cloud, use the default settings, and it will just be secure by default. But actually, a lot of the time, the default settings are not what you want to keep because they're quite insecure.
Yeah, and most payloads, like business payloads, are not actually meant to be run in the cloud. Cloud is a very different approach to computing as versus on-premise computing. So the ESP asks, can we ref shell the page? Wants to get a reverse shell of it. Huh?
It's not impossible if I've made some sort of mistake, but it's not the intended way. If you can find a way, then fair play to
share.
You. But yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. You create a challenge. You have this path in front of you, and then people start poking at it, and all these magical things happen. And so
one of the really interesting things about creating some content for Hack the Box is, if it's a machine and people start playing it, 9 times out of 10 they're going to find an unintended way to do it, I think.
Yeah. And I really like those, because you as a challenge creator, you learn a lot about how people look at it. And the interesting thing is that some people they find a way, and then they just keep poking at it until like the sun comes up or something. They take forever to look at it, and then you go like, oh crap.
Absolutely, it's just unbelievable. Some people will literally just not sleep until they get it.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but I like to have my sleep. But yeah. Let's see. When did we start them? We started them like 5 minutes ago, I guess. So we'll have, a little bit left. There's nobody with a flag yet. But I do want to say that Max 22 does not mean he is 22. It means that he made his account in 22.
Yes.
So he could still be 16, right?
16 or 60.
Doesn't matter.
Who knows?
Yeah. No flag, no sleep. Been there. Yeah, I know that. I know that. Yeah. Let's. We will move into the voice chat for Discord, so we can talk along with the challenges. We'll be back here in about 10 minutes, I guess. So we'll,
Yeah, sounds great.
that's 30. There we go. But, very good. And I'll take us out here. So let's wait till Ian gets back. Yeah. So did CTFL send you a flag?
Not yet, no. So
No.
no one has claimed this flag for the second challenge yet, but
I think he
see.
probably had it, but he got afraid when we said that if it would be a false bingo, he would have to sing a song.
Yeah.
No, probably the first flag. Wait. Can I spoil? Almost has it. Uh-oh. 90%. There. Oh. We'll give you 2 more minutes. We'll give you 2 more minutes.
Yeah.
And so, what
would
do
be
you
nice if
think the
someone
song should be if there was a false bingo?
I think Wellerman was a
Wellerman.
good choice. Yeah, I'm not sure about the Celine Dion one.
Blackheart says, "Can I spoil?" No, we do not do spoiling, right? That's only left for grandchildren and wives. Yep, only port 80. Yeah. Oh, they're close. They're close. Oh, the excitement. The excitement. We are currently waiting for a bunch of the people that are very active. They're crying for 2 more minutes. So I cannot do an RC. Yeah. They think they're so close. So maybe we will actually get somebody who has a flag. We'll see. Well, at least the AMI ID is grabbed. So that would be a very interesting thing. Maybe this challenge will go offline in a little bit. We'll see.
Yeah, I think a bunch of people are so close to getting it.
Yeah.
It seems.
Well, yeah, it's choice. We have 3 more to do, so that would be 3 times half an hour and a half, 8. So well, finding it under pressure is way harder than normal. Yes.
Let's
Well,
shall we go ahead and show it?
yeah, we'll show it.
Okay.
For Walter, doing anything under pressure is harder. You will learn that anytime. Cool. So yeah, let's talk through it.
All right, nice. Let me just share my screen. So.
Clicking the buttons.
Let's see, which one did I want to use?
You have too many screens open. That's
I do. That's the problem. All right, so we are here. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, and Tina says that it is indeed his Pi hole that is stopping the traffic to AWS. Yeah.
My StreamYard just says not responding.
Uh-oh.
So that's never a good thing.
That is indeed not a good thing.
Let me see. I'll see if I can wait for a second.
Computer, you have way too many tabs open. That's probably for
I
sure.
I do. I think, but it's also Chrome. It just uses too much memory.
Yeah, it's a horrible thing. There's already some interesting. Maybe you need to close it and join back in.
Yeah, I think you're right. Let me see.
For everybody in the meetup, Leandro, also known as Cheso from our first meetup session, most people will know. He cannot join, but he says sends his regards. So, yay! I hope you're doing well, Leandro. Let's see. We
So
have a third Austin. Let's remove the
third
other
me.
one.
All right, take two. Let me try sharing.
This is where technology fails us. Yeah, there we go.
Okay,
There we go.
okay, nice.
Yes, it works. It
All
works.
right. So, challenge 2, we'll do the walkthrough for that. So we see here that the website has some options. It's got about us, services, and it's got a URL called status. So we can take a look at this. And so this is a PHP file. Inlane freight service status. We can check it apparently. Okay, so this status page essentially lists some services that the company has. The website and API, partner portal, and customer portal all seem operational, which is good. If we were to capture this request in Burp, of course, we'd see that the inlane freight -prod .htb value would be assigned to the name parameter. So let's check the source code for this and see what's gone on here. Well, we can see that actually there is a hidden form, and by default it sends this value here to the name parameter with every request. So when we click check, then this value gets sent automatically. So potentially this could be an SSRF vulnerability, server-side request forgery. So we might be able to get the website to request a resource of our choosing. And because it's actually, when we're checking it and it's returning the page, then we don't actually have access to the PHP page, but it's possible that it would actually render it on screen. So let's go ahead and check that. So this, as we know, if we were to ping inlanefreight.htb, this would return an Amazon IP. If we do who is this, this would reveal that it's hosted in Amazon address space, so it's more than likely hosted in AWS. One of the very common ways of standing up a website in AWS is by using an EC2 instance, essentially, and installing Apache or Nginx or something like that. So we think it's an EC2 instance in the backend. One of the very interesting things about EC2 instances is the instance metadata service. And we'll talk more about that in a little while, but this is a special service that is bound on the 169.254.169.254 address. So it's an internal address. It's not externally routable, but due to the SSRF vulnerability, we may be able to interact with it. So let's go ahead and request access to this internal service. And indeed, this reveals that this is an EC2 instance. It has got instance metadata service configured. And not only that, it's instance metadata service version 1. Version 1 doesn't require any authentication, whereas version 2 does. And I'll show you a little bit later more about that anyway. So let's have a look here. See if there's any roles attached. So we see that there is a role for support that's been attached to the IAM role. Support has been attached to this EC2 instance. Now, administrators may want to attach roles essentially to allow the EC2, the AWS resource to interact with other AWS resources in the environment. So we can go ahead and request if we can access the keys for this role that's been attached to the EC2 instance. And indeed we can. So here we have the secret access key, the access key ID, and also a token, which is quite long.
Yeah, that's what they got in the Discord as well. CTFL and SELP were talking about the keys and the token indeed.
Nice.
So they were close. They were close.
They were very close. I think they were halfway there. And then let me stop sharing that screen, and let's go to the command line. All right. So you should hopefully see this here.
Yeah. Hello.
Cool. So let's go ahead and configure our AWS credentials.
Yeah, and AWS is again the tool that you can install with pip to actually talk to an AWS API.
Yep, absolutely. So we input the access key ID, which is that. We got this from the website there.
Yeah.
The secret access key, which is this. We can leave that as none. Same for that. Ah, okay.
You should become root.
Sudo do it.
Yeah, make me a sandwich.
All right. Yeah.
Now the question becomes, why did you run AWS as a root user at one point under your own user account? So,
I created the, yeah, I don't know.
There's no excuse. There's no excuse.
It's just bad security habits. Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, true story. True story.
Cool. So we've set the secret access key and the access key ID. Now we need to go ahead and set the token. So let's do that. The command for that actually is this. And then let's go and I'm just trying to copy the token from the website there.
Yeah, and you might wonder, how do you know all these things? Well, if you look at the documentation for the AWS CLI, this part of the installation steps or the configuration steps. So this is just following the documentation on configuring your AWS client. Yeah, and Stan says it probably just didn't do what he wanted to, and so he tried sudo, which is pretty much what everybody else does as well, right?
Okay, so now let's see if we can use AWS S3. So this is the resource that we want to interact with. We want to list S3 buckets that we potentially have access to, and actually we're specifying the S3 bucket that we want to have access to. So let's go ahead and do that.
And that's the one we discovered with challenge 1.
All right, nice. So that's the flag actually that we already saw in the root directory, and we also have the client data export folder there. So let's see if we can go ahead and access that.
CTFL says S3 sync is very nice. So you can just
yes,
yeah,
it is. And so let's copy the flag locally. You see that there's a flag and also a credit card export.
It's never the fastest, but yeah, there we go.
Nice. And let's download this one for good measure.
Pretty sure there's no actual credit cards in there, but
No, there is. There is.
oh, can we order something with it?
Yeah, these ones actually will pass the learn algorithm, but
Oh,
they're just dummy ones.
yeah, there you go. They're all Mastercards, but would they stand the? Yeah,
Nice.
there we go. Nice. Yeah, and so we got here due to the SSRF in the application. It just indiscriminately retrieved the URL, and we used it to grab the metadata from the AWS instance. In the channel, there was some commotion. There's secret keys and tokens and stuff like that. Given the information that you were able to retrieve now, what would be the worst thing that you could do with these keys? Not that they will try it, but you never know. Ian is still on mute, or he's gone.
Nice. Sorry, I was just checking the text. The text channels there. I was So that was good. So that was actually the last AWS challenge. We can now move on to Azure. And
before you continue, there was some commotion in the chat about being able to access the secret keys. What, given the information that they just retrieved, what would be the worst thing that they could do with those keys?
Well, the worst thing that they could do would be to take over an entire AWS account, assuming that that role was privileged enough. So, really, in the case of Capital One breach,
yes,
just to name one example, then this is exactly what happened. There was a web application firewall, and it had an SSRF vulnerability that allowed attackers to gain access to the AWS keys, which they then used to access an S3 bucket containing some PIA, and that they were fined a huge amount because of that. And so this there have been many other instances of this as well. And I just want to share with you quickly, actually, the AWS screen where you configure EC2 instances. So just bear with me.
See if the browser will work for you now. Right. There you go.
Okay, so you should hopefully see
the console.
Nice. Okay, perfect. So let's go ahead and launch an instance. We can select anyone. Let's go for this one. Yep, that's fine. And so here, where we can configure the instance details, if we scroll down, you can see under advanced details, metadata version.
Mm-hmm.
So by default, the version 1 and version 2 of the metadata are both enabled by default. So the token is optional, of course, because version 1 by default doesn't have token authentication, whereas version 2 does. I'm not sure why AWS don't just set version 2 as the default option. It seems like a lot of security issues would be prevented if they just set that as the default option, to be honest. But
I would think a lot of things will break as well because people have bad implementations.
Yeah, but if you don't need the instance metadata service, you can also disable it. So here, or if you've enabled it in your EC2 instance and you need to retrospectively disable that, you can also do that. But yeah, so it seems strange that the AWS actually caution against. They have cautioned against using version 2 when it's actually this would have prevented us from doing this attack that we just saw. So that's kind of all I wanted to share. Yeah, perfect. I will go ahead and paste challenge 3 in the channel. And
yeah, very cool. And while we start on that, we'll ask Phil the Cookie to pick a lucky winner from our swag list. So that will be cool.
Nice.
Yeah. So we'll drop the challenge in the chat. And as we have finished the AWS challenges, I think we'll go to Azure. I'm not sure. Or Azure, if you want to be fancy about it.
Yep. So
ESP asks, time for a small break? Well, you can take a break. We have some time, but we'll continue the cycle, as else we'll be here until 11. Yeah, there's quite some. Sob says AWS answer is always buy our products, so add more components to it. So you have an EC2 instance. Well, how about a Route 53? How about a web application firewall? How about a storage thing? How about it? Continue on. And I don't know what is happening with the challenge right now. Well, I think it was the answer instead of the challenge. Oh, I hope nobody was doing a copy pasting. Maybe Ian's computer froze up with all his tabs open. There we go. There we go. Enumerate Azure users and see if admins have made some comments. There's a user that can be used, and there's a password that can be used. So there we go. Should be quite different from the AWS part. So. And while people work on that, or maybe take a small break before they work on that, we'll move back into Discord, let people work. It's 8 o'clock now, so we'll be here back 20 past 8. And so we can go to challenge 4. So see you in a little bit. Yeah, so this challenge was apparently easier or more familiar. That might be the case as well.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a really nice intro to Azure. Nothing too complex. Just set the credentials and start to enumerate users. It's interesting actually um, that the normal fields which are editable in Azure are kind of restricted. They're more restricted, so you can set maybe the department, first name, last name, their manager. In traditional AD, you've got access to more tabs such as description, notes, etc. And as an admin myself previously as well, it can be tempting to make comments in there, which can be very sensitive sometimes. And so
Yes.
this is one thing actually in Azure that they've done well by removing those sorts of fields. But that doesn't stop admins from putting them into other fields, which we've just seen.
No, I've seen some really crazy things being stored in those fields. So you go like, um, from
Yeah.
very sensitive in the sense of IT sensitive, but also personally sensitive, like remarks
Oh,
about people itself. And
oh, really?
yeah, that's not that's not a very good thing. Yeah. So let's show it. Let's see if your browser will work with us.
Yes, perfect. Let's go ahead and do that. Eh? Okay. So I'll share my terminal.
Waiting for the screen share. Let's see if the browser will work with it. There we go. Bang.
All right. So
Clear.
we are back.
Yes.
So we can install AZ, for example. I've already done that, but a very simple command there.
Yeah, and AZ basically like the AWS client is a small front end for the services that are available. So we can log in.
So I'm just logging into my browser now using the credentials that we have provided.
Yeah.
So not that one. That one, yeah.
I will post it here as well in the chat on Discord.
Okay, so the first thing we can see is that there are no subscriptions found for this user. So we've got a very low privileged user actually that doesn't have access to any subscriptions. So what we can try to do is to log in without subscriptions, or to set that option when we log in. So let's go ahead and do that. And log in again.
It's quite interesting that they chose the browser-based login system, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, we
Okay,
have
so
this user, no subscriptions, but we are logged in, so we have some basic information.
yeah, so let's go ahead and one of the first things we can do is to check out the users that are available. And that there's actually loads of users there. So tester, that's us. We've got someone called Ulf Svensson.
Svensson, I believe he's also in one of the other Hack the Box machines. The Svensson name is familiar, right?
Yeah.
Patricia, who are
Patricia
you?
Ottoman. Okay, So let's go ahead and see if maybe some comments have been made somewhere. So we do an insensitive, a case insensitive search for pass. So that will return, if it's uppercase or lowercase p, it should just return everything. So let's see what that returns. Password policy, password null. But actually here, we see in the department field, it's pretty crazy that it's been put in the department field because actually Azure does a great job of removing fields like notes and description, which can be very tempting for admins to put stuff like passwords in, but it doesn't stop people from putting passwords in if they're very determined to do so. So here we see that the password has been set. Welcome to the company. Assume that the user has to change that when they log in, and we have the first flag. So that was a nice easy one for Azure to get us started. The next Azure challenge is pretty interesting. I am going to stick that in the channel momentarily. But
nice. One remark: as this is all JSON, you could also use the JQ tool. I will put it in a banner. JQ is a tool that you can use to just query JSON structure. So I find that quite helpful if you have JSON structures that you want to maneuver it through and just allow within context to get all the information. So very cool. Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah, so in this example, we kind of revealed that in Azure, a lot of the common fields that led to these bad practices of inputting credentials and of course personally sensitive information, as you mentioned as well, have actually been removed from Azure. But of course, as we said, if an admin is determined to store some information like that, they'll just use one of the other fields.
Yeah. If you allow people to do something, they will abuse it.
Exactly.
It's a human nature, I think. So.
Yeah. Hey, I'm going to go ahead and put the next challenge in the channel.
Yeah, we'll move entirely into Discord now. So we'll continue the challenge there and get back here at about 20 minutes till 9 to discuss the challenge. So cool.
Yep, sounds
See
good.
you in a minute. Yeah, so this challenge, it is keeping people busy. It is a little bit more complex than the other ones up to now. So they are so close, so close.
Yeah,
This
they've
is
done the
quite.
first. I think a few people have done the first part of the challenge. They've successfully done the password spray attack, and they've they've identified some valid credentials and are now using that more privileged account, which is good.
Yeah.
Um,
Maybe we, before we reveal the answer, maybe you can elaborate on the password spraying. Probably some people are not familiar with password spraying. So.
yeah, certainly. So, um, with password cracking, for example, um, with an online brute force attack, you're typically targeting a specific user, Joe Blogs, and running through a list of maybe 100 passwords, running the risk that if there's an account lockout policy, you'll probably lock out the account pretty quickly. So you probably want to check if what the password policy is before you do something like that, which is potentially very noisy and also potentially destructive in terms of users being able to work and services running and stuff like that. A password spray, on the other hand, instead of one username and loads of passwords in an online brute force attack, you would have multiple users and maybe one or two passwords in a password spray attack. So you would maybe identify a list of 100 users or whatever, and maybe try one password, such as say, was it now? It's winter 2022 now, so we'd probably set winter 2022. But the interesting thing actually is that Azure actually prevents you from setting passwords such as winter 2022 because it's used too much. And they also prevent passwords like welcome one, and stuff like that. So generally, in many ways, Azure is actually a step up from Active Directory, which of course you could satisfy the default password complexity requirements using welcome one with like a capital W and an exclamation mark at the end. Azure seems a bit better than that, but still, there are multiple other common password formats, for example, such as the company name 2022, that could be used instead, and Azure will permit that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, a password spray attack essentially will run through. You'd still want to check the password policy that's set up for the company because you don't want to be locking accounts out. But yeah, it will typically try one password such as that against 100 users, and if you're lucky, then you might get one or more users using that password, and then you'll then be able to gain access to company resources in their context.
Yeah, very cool. Very cool. All right. So Tinus has had plenty of time to figure it out now. I don't know if he has, but we will give the answer anyway. And he can
Okay.
choose not to listen.
Yeah, sounds good. I'll go ahead and do that then. Arian.
Yeah, CTFL makes the remark, but spray against what users? I think we will just answer that right away.
Okay.
Let's wait for the screen share to pop up. Again, this attack builds on the previous one, of course. So the knowledge we have from there. There we go. We see your screen.
Okay, perfect. So the objective, of course, as we know, is to attempt a password spray attack against Azure and gain access, if we can, to a more privileged account. The second part of this challenge is to then use this account to enumerate other resources and to gain access to them and get the final flag. So the first thing really that we need to do, we've got the potential passwords here. It's of course worth knowing that Azure prevents winter 2022 and welcome one because it's seen that password too many times, and so it will block you from setting that for users. But it will allow something like inlane freight 2022. And so company name, year is a good format to try.
Yeah.
So
that is what we gave to start with the challenge. So.
Indeed. So we can go ahead and try to, if we just issue that command, it's just going to return a whole bunch of data, which is fine, but it's not super useful for our purposes. When we're trying to do a password spray attack, we need a list of the UPNs, emails. So let's go ahead and do that.
And it's probably just behind the logo. I will remove the logo real quick. Toof. So, there we go.
And so we have a whole bunch of users here. Actually, we've got more users here now than I have in this text file already locally. So we have those users already.
Oh, you did not include Svensson?
No, I created him today before I did. I actually did the commands and everything. I just created a whole bunch more users today because I didn't want people to manually try and log into Azure.
Yeah, the Deurwaarder actually says, I actually listed the roles, and then you can guess which user will have the shitty password.
See, that's clever thinking.
Yeah, very clever indeed.
So we can use this command here. Essentially, we've downloaded msolspray.py, installed the dependencies, and so we've set our user list as yourusers.txt, and the password is inlanefreight 2022. So let's give that a whirl.
Yeah, and this basically a Python implementation of another tool which was used to do the spraying. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Indeed. And so we got success with Meko Weert, and they have set up this password here. So let's go ahead and log in as this user. Now again, it's opened a web browser, so I'm just inputting the details.
So you're doing Michiel Weerts, right? It's a very nice Dutch name.
Yes, yes, it is indeed. Okay, so hopefully, yes, good. And this time, this user has access to read the subscription, and so they've got more privileges as well.
Yeah.
So one of the first things we can do is try to list the VMs that have been set up, maybe. So let's go ahead and do that.
For the more graphically inclined people, you probably could also just log into the portal. And
yes, yes, it's nice actually gaining access to the portal. It's obviously, of course, got that familiarity. So here we see there is a PC called Winten Michiel Weert, and that's interesting. That's obviously the user that we are. So potentially this user has some administrative privileges over this machine if they're a developer. Actually, what is their role in the company? IT resource group.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm looking at a VM.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I would just say, I don't know what role the VM has, but the user is probably developer or something.
Yeah, the user, I'd have to check that, but I think they're in IT, so they might have privileges. So, and also we can identify any roles that they're a part of as well. But for the sake of this, we can see that this user has been assigned a VM, and so we assume that they might have some privileges on it. So if you check out the documentation, if we log into the Azure portal now and we navigate to this Actually, let me do that. Let me show you rather than just nattering
Yeah.
on. It's always best to show. Yeah, Chrome tab. Yeah. Give me a sec while I just open up.
Open up another tab. Right?
Yeah. Your
Yeah, there's so many ways to do it from command line. You can do a lot from command line. There's also some remarks in the chat about PowerShell if you are on a Windows machine. It can be quite powerful, or it is quite powerful. And of course, there's just the good old plain-fashioned web interface. There we go.
Okay, so actually, we can check. Who are we? We're Michael Wertz. So let's go ahead and click this user. Oh, so he's an
IT manager.
Okay.
It's always the manager.
Administrative roles, none assigned. It's not assigned. Is your role assignments? Oh, so it's an owner of this VM here. So that's interesting. So let's go ahead and click on that VM. We could try to connect, but we don't have access. So even though we're an owner, it seems that we don't, there are some things we can't do. Let's see if we can run a command. That's not available to us either. So at this point, we might be thinking, what can we actually do? Well, if you read the documentation for Azure, there's some interesting commands for managing VMs. One of them is the run command. So we can type az VM run command invoke. So here,
we're looking at the web page right now.
Yeah, thanks. So let me go ahead and share console instead. All right. Cool.
There we go.
So what we can do is run a command like this. So we go. Okay.
Maybe you need to reset your console.
Yeah. Just hit in Notepad and show. Okay. That's better. So we can show that. Right. Share this new one. Okay. So hopefully you should see this one here. So there are many different ways of managing VMs. We know it's a Windows machine. So we use the run command, which is meant for Windows. We use invoke. The resource group is IT. The name of the VM is Win10 Michael Wertz. We want to run a PowerShell script, and the script will just say who am I. So let's give that a run and see what happens.
Somebody in the team says, I tried to install custom script extensions. That might get you a little bit off base, but yeah.
Okay, so that's now running. It may take a while because I guess the service has just accepted the job and it's running it locally and doing magic Azure stuff. Yeah. And then it's going to return.
Sometime.
Yeah.
It's the funny thing is how much we are getting used to having things take a long time, right? All right.
Wow. So,
Oh,
so we
nice.
see here, we've been set as the owner of that machine, and even though we can't run a command using the console, we can't connect to it even using the console, then we can actually execute commands using using the command line in the context of system. So we can go ahead and let's list the C drive, for example.
Yeah, there we go.
This is the first thing to do. And I guess that's...
You put a slash before the double quote. So the C colon slash, you should escape the slash. There we go. And I think it's formatting now, but yeah, it's running.
Nice. Let's see what that comes back with.
The suspense is killing me.
It's pretty slow. I mean, if you compare it to to traditional infrastructure, this just seems a lot slower, right? But it's more scalable, of course. So
True.
So what do we have here? We've got users, Windows, the usual directories, Windows Azure. What else?
Maybe somebody's pulling your leg and they removed the file.
Yeah, it's possible that they have, because I didn't set any permissions on it. So perf logs, packages. Anyway, we're system, and we've got command execution on the VM. So even if the flag has been removed, then then it doesn't matter. So let's just let that run anyway, and see what it comes back with.
Let's talk about the next one, because we have one to go still.
Yes, absolutely. So this one, so we've seen AWS and Azure so far, and the final challenge is going to be on GCP. So far we've had a lot of challenges centered on initial access and gaining access to further resources, some lateral movement, but we haven't had any privilege escalation yet. So the final challenge is going to be focusing on privilege escalation. You'll gain access to a GCP compute instance, and as a low privileged user account, and see if you can gain access through another user and gain access to root. This is another really interesting challenge that showcases some security issues that are specific to GCP or a specific configuration. And so I'll post that in the channel shortly.
Yeah, so very cool.
It's worth mentioning with this challenge in Azure. Actually, someone did remove the flag. So, whoops, never mind. It's worth mentioning that.
I guess it's there, right? It's in the screen now.
Was it there? Oh, sorry, it is there.
Yeah. I didn't see it in the earlier one as well, but we should be able to type it. So, or cut.
Yeah, you should accept both. But yeah, cool. So in this specific example, then you just need to be very mindful. For example, here the user wasn't assigned a contributor role, but in Azure, if you allow someone to be assigned this role, then they can get command execution very easily. There's a lot of roles and kind of role assignments in Azure that you think you can assign, and that actually can result in people being able to move laterally to other resources.
Yeah.
And so there's the flag for the fourth challenge.
Yeah, nice. Very cool. Very cool. All right. We will continue with challenge number 5. Google Cloud Platform will have some really nice. Got the Brains notes that not only is Azure quite slow compare doing these type of things. He says try the Microsoft Partner Portal. I know this portal and it's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
See you.
yeah.
See you there.
See you there. All right. So most people have the challenge completed, probably unintended because somebody added the user to the sudo list. Uh, so let's see, what was the intended path?
Yeah. So I think I'm not sure if maybe the first person to exploit the challenge maybe added that user to the sudos, or if this is like a default thing when you create a new user in a Google Compute instance that it actually adds them to sudo. Either way, something I should have checked, but it's still a realistic and legit thing that admins can often overlook. So let me go ahead and share my screen and show the solution.
There we go. We see your terminal. Clear. Right. Now we're exiting.
Okay, so let's go ahead. And so the objective is to escalate privileges on this GCP compute instance. So let's go ahead and log in. So one of the first things we could do is see if gcloud is installed, which would allow us to interact with the Google API, GCP API, and it is there, so that's good. So let's list the compute instances and also describe the current compute instance we're on. Yep. Okay, so if we scroll up here, then someone has already done this actually. They've added the key for Alice, so that's cool. The default two keys, SSH keys, are for me and also for DevTest. That allows us to connect to this VM remotely. So this is actually in the GCP console. You specify the keys, and this kind of gets added to the metadata on the instance itself. So it's managed by Google. Mm-hmm. So what we can actually do, let's have a look at the compute instance console first, actually. Oh, that's logged in as me. Anyway, when you're selecting, when you're spinning up a GCP compute instance, then you specify the service account in whose context the compute instance will run. If you don't specify a custom one, then it will just use the default service account, which can have privileges, for example, to read storage buckets. So that's another vector.
Are you looking at your browser right now? Because we see.
No. I was actually logged in using my work account, so I decided not to log in the end.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah,
smart.
It's just worth keeping in mind that if you use the default service account, by default this has access to storage, and so from, let's say, if you're able to breach a web app that's running on a Google Compute instance, from there you would have access to all the storage containers within GCP by default if it was running the default service account. So what we can look to do is to try some privilege escalation techniques. This is running in the context of the default service account, and it's also possible that admins may have allowed this service account to interact with other services and APIs. So if that's the case, we should be able to actually modify the instance metadata, and the plan is to modify the instance metadata and to add a new SSH key for the Ego55 user, who we know is in sudos. Well, actually, so's DevTest, but let's ignore that. So first, let's go ahead and create not that one. Go ahead and create our key for figures. Yep. Okay, so there we are. So now we can create a text file. Text. We can call it anything, doesn't really matter. And copy that. That one. A new key that we've got.
And Salp is saying, after our flame war of Vim versus Emacs, now we have the Pico versus Nano.
Yeah. Okay, so what we've done there is we've created a new, we've created a file that contains some metadata relating to the SSH keys, which are which would be added to an instance that we specify. So what we can do is run this command now, gcloud. Gcloud compute instances, add metadata for dev01. The metadata file we have here, and we specify that we want to update the SSH keys and specify meta.text. So let's go ahead and do that for this instance. Yep. And that was updated. So now we can attempt to SSH. Okay.
Yeah, there you go. Beautiful.
There we go.
Yeah, very nice. So take use the API to set new metadata on the device. Device gets the authorized keys, and you just log in. And then, well, this user had sudo, so we get to it. Very cool. Very cool.
That was fun.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that. And
yeah.
see, I told you, there's always an unintended.
Always. That's I don't know if this one was unintended because somebody made it unintended.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
yeah, always. That's the thing. If you make something and you do it just for one time, normally you do the QA thing and you go through and
Exactly.
play test it with lots of people. But awesome. Yeah, we had a lot of. I think we can say we had a lot of fun going through AWS, Azure, and Cloud, Google Cloud. People are very busy right now, it seems. Oh, they really like it. They're talking about emojis, but nice walkthrough, very good. Yeah, so I would say it was a very fun evening.
Well,
very
thank you so much for inviting me. It was really nice to be back for a third time, and nice to catch up. And let's do this again soon.
Yeah, let's hope that we can do it in person. That we can actually do beers and stuff as well.
Yes, that would be great.
That would be very cool. But anytime you want to join, you're more than welcome. Not next month, because next month we have Pink Draconian presenting from Integrity, and he will do a cross-site scripting workshop type thing. So that will be very interesting as well. Yeah. So thank you, Ian. We'll hop back into Discord and close out.
My pleasure. Thanks a lot.
We have a Pro Lab to give away still, so we'll do that. Thank you very much. See you all next time. Bye-bye.